Today we're going to be improving your Lifesteal-Smp, so make sure to watch the video until the end. For this video we're going to be using a server host called server.pro, and this is actually the server that we set up in the previous video. If you haven't watched it yet, I suggest you do first, but in it we set up a basic server and installed the Lifesteal plugin. For this video though, we're going to be installing some more plugins, configuring some basic settings, and even doing some building. And I'm going to walk you through what I do step by step so that you can follow along too. Just before we get started, do take a moment to check if you are subscribed to my channel. I do a lot of Minecraft server development, and if you're interested in this video, you'll be interested in some of my others as well. And if this channel is not for you, then you can always unsubscribe later. Before we install any plugins, I just want to quickly describe my plan and vision for this server. When you're making your own servers, you should also do this before you get started. It'll save you a lot of time and help you find the right plugins that you need. For this video, I want easy to understand rules, new players to have a fair opportunity, experienced players to not get too OP, and a relatively small world to keep action intense. So now that we have our plan, let's get started with the plugins. The way I'm going to structure this is by showing you the plugin first, configuring it, doing my permissions, and then moving on to the next. If you check the timeline of this video, you can see each of the plugins I install as a reference. So the first plugin I want to install is called Luckperms. A lot of the plugins we're going to be adding today are permission-based. Luckperms can be a little bit overwhelming and scary the first time that you do use it, but I assure you guys it is really simple. I'm going to show you exactly how I use it and how you guys can use it on your own servers. So there we have it, Luckperms is now installed on the server. When players first join the server, they will be assigned the default group. We can actually look at that by typing lp user the cat's info. And you can see that I have been set to the primary group of defaults. And for the purposes of this server and this tutorial, we're actually not going to be creating any groups. Everything we're going to be doing is through the default rank, so it's fair for all players. So if you type lp group default, there are a bunch of different options that you can configure. There is the meta, and that is for prefixes and suffixes. There is parent, that is to assign different groups permissions from other groups. That's a little bit more complicated. And then there is permissions. And permissions is the main one that we're going to be using. So a lot of the commands we're going to be typing today is lp group default permission set, and then the specific permission listed for each of the plugins that we're going to install. So let's go ahead, install a plugin, and show you exactly how that works. So the next plugin we're going to be installing is called EssentialsX. Now the download link is not working for some reason. Fortunately, I do already have it saved. So I'm going to be installing EssentialsX as well as the add-on EssentialsSpawn and EssentialsChat. So 3 different plugins for Essentials. You can also see here that there are some requirements for Essentials. It is designed to use modern permissions, and they strongly recommend Luckperms, which we also have. And then also Vault for prefix and suffix support, as well as if you want to have an economy and stuff like that. Now, we're not actually going to be needing Vault for anything, but it is a very core and essential plugin most of the time, and I just like having it on my servers, so I'm going to install it anyway as well. So remember guys, to install any plugins onto your server, go into the Files, Plugins folder, and just drag them in. There is so much functionality with EssentialsX. We're going to keep our usage of it, again, really simple. I just want to use it for things like TPA/spawn/home and things like that. But if you have a look at this website here, this will list all of the permissions available with the plugin. So for example, if you want to give players the permission to type /spawn on your server, then the group that they're in is going to need the essentials.spawn permission. With this website, you can literally just click on the permission and it'll automatically save onto your clipboard. And then on your server, all you need to type is lp group default permission set and paste. And now essentials.spawn is set to true for the default group. So now you're going to want to do that for all the permissions you want to install on the server. Permission to do /home, permission to set a home, permission to update their bed home, permission to set multiple homes, permission to delete a home, permission to set a teleport request to a friend, permission to accept a teleport request from a friend, permission to deny a teleport request, permission to teleport somebody to yourself, permission to cancel a teleport request, permission to disable inbound requests, permission to message others. And I think that'll be enough for the Essentials plugin. What we can do next is type LP group default permission info, and that'll give us a list of all of the current permissions set to the default group. If you want to remove any of them, all you need to do is click and then enter, and that will remove it from the server. So what I'm going to do now to make sure that the permissions are set up correctly is I'm actually going to de-op myself, which means I can no longer do all of the admin commands. For example, I can't switch my game mode to creative because I do not have access to that. However, I can do /spawn because I do have access to it. So when you first join the server, you'll be greeted with this message. Welcome to Cats, type help, type list, players online, you have no new mail. In order to remove that, go into your plugins folder, essentials, and then open up motd.txt, which stands for message of the day. I'm going to go ahead and just completely delete it and then save it. The next thing you'll want to configure is the config. So the first one was the mail. I'm just going to go ahead and set the notifications for new mail to false. Another thing you'll notice is that my name is red. And if I type something in chat, my name is also red. And that is because I am currently opt on the server and opt players have a red name. You can see that here. Ops names colors is 4. 4 is the hexacode for red. Essentials actually comes with a default kit called kit color. And with kit color, you can actually look at all of the different hexacodes in Minecraft. Before the ops colors name, we're actually just going to set it to none because I don't want a color. The next thing I want to change is the chat format. Because we installed the EssentialsX chat add-on, we can actually go ahead and change that within the config here as well. So this is the current format. We have the bracket, display name, bracket, message. So what I like to do is remove the brackets and just do one of these little semicolons here. For the little semicolon, I'm actually just going to set it to gray. And then for the message, I'm going to set it to R, which is the default color, which is usually white. Well, let's go ahead and save our file and hop back on the server. So in order to update anything, you can restart the server, or you can type /essentials-reload or /s-reload for short. And now if you type something in chat, you'll notice that the brackets are no longer there. That little semicolon there is slightly gray. You might not be able to see it. And also my name is no longer red as well. Also, when we reload the server, you'll notice that the welcome message is no longer showing in the bottom left corner. Another thing I like doing is setting a custom join and leave message. And now ta-da, we have a custom welcome message. You can actually see that the cats is boldened and green. That's because I haven't set it up correctly. What I want to do is put a little R in front of the player name. And I actually forgot to put the light red message in front of left again. So a lot of config editing is just trial and error. A lot of reloading plugins to make sure that it's all set up correctly. And ta-da, that is much better. So our name is white because our name is white. I've not set up any custom prefixes or custom colors for my actual username. It's just plain white. That's a good start for the Essentials plugin. Let's hop on over to the next one. We're going to use /RTP for our new players so that they can start somewhere in the wild freely and not have to worry about running away from spawn or being killed by others. So whenever you need to figure out what the permissions are for any plugin, all you need to do is scroll through the page and there's usually a section called permissions. So over here we have all the permissions that are applicable for this plugin. So there we have the permissions for the BetterRTP plugin. We'll also want to go into our plugin settings and actually configure it as well. So in the config, we're able to set the minimum and maximum radius for the RTP. So at the moment, it is minimum 10, maximum 100. That means when you RTP, your X and Z will be, below 1000. But what we can do is actually set it to be the same dimensions as the world border. So currently the world border is set to infinity, but we are going to be reducing it as well. So if we set the world border to say 10,000 blocks wide, it means when we RTP, it'll put us somewhere within the world border. The other thing we want to look at is our cooldowns. Currently there is a delay. That means when you type /RTP, it takes 5 seconds and then you teleport. If you move, it will cancel. The other one is the cooldown. That means if you do an RTP and then you don't like the location and you want to RTP again, you have to wait 600 seconds or 10 minutes. I'm going to change that to 300 seconds instead. I'm going to save the file, and then I'm going to hop back on the server and type BetterRTP reload. And now when I /RTP, it will try and find myself a safe space. Usually takes around 5 seconds or so. And there we go, we've been teleported to X697 and Z-710. The next plugin we're going to be installing is called CombatLogX. This player will be used for combat tagging players, so ideally when they get hit in PvP, they need to wait 15 to 30 seconds before they can teleport out. So in this case, we do need to install another plugin called SirBlobmanCore. And you'll also notice that CombatLogX is actually zipped. So this is the basic file. We're going to go ahead and install that one. But there is also a bunch of add-ons or expansions for CombatLogX as well. And one of the expansions is called Newbie Helper. So when they spawn on the server and when they RTP, they'll then have 15 minutes to an hour or whatever we decide of grace period where nobody can attack them and they can't attack anybody else either. But this is something that I want to add so that new players get a fair opportunity, which was in my plan. And then once that has been restarted, we can go ahead and install the expansion as well. So I've added Newbie Helper to the expansions folder for CombatLogX, and I'm going to restart the server again so that it can install. So CombatLogX and the expansion doesn't actually have any permissions or commands that you need to type on the server. This is something that we're going to be configuring completely within the config itself. So here in the config, there is a section here called combat and a timer. That means when a player is tagged, then they'll be tagged for 15 seconds. So when they quit the game, they will be killed. And obviously then they'll lose a heart and drop all their stuff. I also want to take a look at the Newbie Helper. Remove protection on attack. Yes. So that means if they want to go out and attack somebody, they can. And that will disable the grace period. But it also means, if somebody wants to, sneak up and attack them, they won't be able to. So it does give new players an upper hand. But, how OP can a new player get, within 15, 30 minutes or even an hour versus somebody in, full diamond or full netherite armor. So it is set to 30 seconds by default. We're going to go ahead and bump that up a little bit to 30 minutes instead. So once you've saved that, hop back on your server and just type CombatLogX and then reload. And now all those settings will apply automatically. The next plugin I'm going to be installing is called Themis Anti-Cheat. This is a plugin that will hopefully prevent hackers and cheaters from playing on the server. This one does require another plugin called ProtocolLib as well, so I'm just going to download that one too. Now, Themis I've used in the past. It is pretty good in my experience. However, there's always a way to kind of cheat on the server or find an exploit or so on and so forth. So this, like I said, is a pretty decent plugin, but it is free. There are others. I'm sure you guys probably know more. So let me know in the comments if there are any plugins that you guys prefer to use instead. I also have access to Spartan Anti-Cheat as well. However, this is a premium plugin, one that I have bought in the past. So I'm not going to be using this, as this server that we're making is supposed to be 100% free. But do let me know in the comments if there are any other alternatives other than Spartan and Themis. Installing anti-cheats is not something I enjoy because I don't really know too much about the whole cheating world and hacks and things like that. So I'm really just going to be adding the anti-cheat on the server and just installing it and letting it run on its default settings. So hopefully that will block away the majority of the hackers. But if anybody has any, OP hacks or, some fancy stuff, they'll probably be able to get around the system. But really, the best way to prevent this is just to make sure that you add trustworthy people onto your SMP. But if you're creating a public SMP, you'll probably just want to create some helpers and mods so that they can catch X-rays and cheaters as well. So Themis will run on its own and alert you if somebody is cheating, and then you can investigate it yourself, see if they're actually cheating, and then ban them. So just like CombatLogX, all you need to do is chuck in Themis and ProtocolLib into your server files and restart the server, and then it'll automatically install and apply the features to your server. You don't really have to play around with the config or anything. You can look into it, but I'm just going to leave it on its default settings. So the next plugin we're going to be using is called ViaBackwards. Now this one is a bit of a unique and special plugin, and it does depend on us using ViaVersion as well. But with Via Rewind, it basically allows us to let players on older versions of Minecraft connect to our 1.18 server. So you can see here that the server version is 1.18, and with 1.18, players can connect obviously with 1.18, as well as versions 1.10 to 1.17, and also version 1.9.x. However, they're not able to join on 1.8, so your PvP will still be in the newer versions of Minecraft. If you want your compatibility to 1.8 and lower, there's also another plugin here called ViaRewind, but this one is a little bit outdated, not made for 1.18, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a pretty cool plugin as well, and it's very handy for when Minecraft is going through a lot of updates. So currently we're on, 1.18.1, but if there was an update to 1.18.2, then you'd still be able to connect to this server even without updating it. And same goes for 1.18.3, 1.18.4, and so on and so forth. And that is one of the cool features of ViaVersion. So this one here is just another matter of uploading and restarting the server for it to automatically kick in. The last two plugins we're going to be installing are called WorldEdit and WorldGuard. WorldEdit is used for building, copy-pasting structures, and doing other fun stuff like that. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it. It is a very popular plugin. The second one is called WorldGuard. This is essential for creating protected regions and things like that. Now, this is a lifesteal. We're not going to have protected regions for players, but we are going to have a protected spawn area. So we do want to make sure that we create a region using WorldGuard so that nobody can grief it. And when you join the server for the first time, you don't have to worry about being killed straight away. Only once you /RTP out of the spawn area, then you'll be safe. It also gives players an opportunity to get together in a safe environment. And I'm also thinking about having a pit below spawn where players can jump down and engage in PvP as well. So we're going to install these two plugins onto the server and then hop on the server and actually do some building and play around with the regions. Again, this one might seem a little bit complicated, but I assure you it's not. I'm going to walk you through it step by step so that you can follow along as well. Alright guys, so this is going to be my plan for the regions, and we're going to use WorldGuard to create this. So essentially we're going to have two main regions. The first region is going to be our spawn point, and the second region is going to be the PvP zone. And within the PvP zone, we need to ensure that players are not able to build or not able to teleport out if they get into a fight with another person. Once they leave the PvP zone, then they're able to do whatever they like. But once they're in the PvP zone, then they need to fight. And then lastly, we're going to have the spawn point, which is going to be blue. And the spawn point is actually going to be elevated above the PvP zone. So when they spawn, they'll be up in the air, and then they'll have the ability to jump down and, join in on the PvP. But if they want to get out of the PvP zone, then they're going to need to run out of it or wait the 15 to 30 seconds before they can teleport out. The spawn point as well is going to be both PvP proof and build proof as well. So that's why we need to have two zones. So now let's hop on over to the server and actually show you what that looks like. So the first thing we need to do is find a good spot for our spawn point. I normally like to do this in a plains biome. So what I'm going to do is just type locate biome plains, and then we're going to go teleport to that area using TPOS. You can also see that there's a whole bunch of caves, holes, ravines, and things like that. Because there's not going to be any building, it means that if you get stuck in here, then you guys are kind of stuck, obviously. The only way to get out is by teleporting out. So normally I would fill this all in, but I think for the purposes of this server, we're actually just going to completely leave it open. So the first thing we want to do is mark out our spawn point. So if we type up 1, that will place a glass block below us, and this is going to be the spawn area. So what we're going to do is use a little bit of WorldEdit to just create a little platform. So if you type /wand, that'll bring out the fancy builder's wand. And then we're just going to select the first point by left clicking. And then we're going to go build a little bit this way. And then a little bit this way. And we're going to grab this region over here by right clicking. I'm going to go set stone. And now we have a big stone platform. So the first thing we can do is make our spawn region. But because I don't know what the exact size of it is, I'm actually going to build this platform first. However, I don't really feel like building, to be honest. So let's go look online and see if there's any structures that we can just copy and paste from there instead. So what we're going to look up is WorldEdit schematics. If we can find a really cool schematic of a spawn, then we can copy paste it onto our server. I found myself a Skywars map actually, but I kind of like the center island in the middle. So let's download this and see what this is like on the server. So once you've downloaded the schematic, you're going to want to go to your plugins folder, go into the WorldEdit folder, And in the schematics folder, you're going to want to upload the file. And now on your server, you should be able to type //schem list, and that 6395.schematic1 should be there. So what we can do is type /schem load 6395.schematic. And now it is loaded onto our clipboard. We didn't even have to restart the server. So I'm going to type /paste, and I'm going to see if it puts it in a nice spot for me. If we don't like it, we can move it around. But let's just do a /paste and see what happens. So there it is. It's actually put it over here. So you can see we've got all of the little floating islands because, as I said, it is a Skywars map. But it's this center island, which I kind of like, to be honest. So I was thinking, you know, maybe we spawn like inside of here, and then players can jump down into the world and start doing some PvP. So because I only want the center structure, what I'm going to do is just copy it. So we need to select 2 points that capture the entire area. So what I'm going to do is just do my little up command, select that point, and then I'm going to come down here, make sure we get the bottom of the island. If I line myself up that way, the island's in there. If I line myself up this way, we've got the island as well. We're going to type /up again, copy that. And now we have this entire island selected. So what I want to do next, come back to the top here and type copy. Now that I've copied it, it's on my new clipboard. So what I'm going to do is type /undo, which should hopefully remove this thing that we just spawned in, which it did. But that center island of ours should still be copied to the clipboard. So if we come over here, I'm going to come here and type /paste. And now the island has been pasted here instead, in the spot that we wanted it. Pretty cool, right? So now that we got our island in place, let's go ahead and create our first region for the spawn point. So again, we need to select 2 points, which captures this entire island. Select that, break it, and now we have this island here selected. So what we're going to do is create a region, and in order to do that, we're going to type /rg create and then spawn. So you can see here a new region has been made named Spawn. This region is now protected from modification from others. Don't want that, yada, yada, yada. So if we type /rg info, you'll see that we are in the global region over here, because the global region is just the default region. But if we come to our new spawn point and do the same command, we are in the spawn region. So what we want to make sure is that the priority of the spawn region is above the priority of the global region. And in order to do that, we're just going to type /rg priority spawn 10. Just give it a nice high number. The higher the number is, the higher the priority. So if we type /rg info again, you can see we're in the spawn region, but you can see we have a priority of 10 instead. So we need to put some flags in place. Our flags are our modifications that basically allow people to build or not build, or grief or not grief, or PvP. There's so many different flags to choose from. So in order to show you the flags, I'm going to type /rg flag spawn T. T is just me misspelling the name of a flag. And when you misspell it, it basically shows you all of the available ones. So we have all of these different things to choose from. Another alternative is typing /rg flags. And then this gives you a menu as well, where you can go from page by page and basically allow or deny each of the flags. But what I'm going to type is basically rg flag spawn build deny. And now the region flag on spawn has been set to deny. The second one I want to type is rg flag spawn PvP deny. And now PvP has also been set to deny. So if we type rg info again, you can see that in this spawn region, A, you're not able to PvP anyone, and B, you're not able to build. So now this spawn region is 100% completely safe from griefing and also people trying to kill each other. So this makes it a perfect place to spawn. So now we have customized our spawn point. This is where we spawn for the first time. I've got a cheeky little ladder down here, which takes you to a level 30 enchanting table. And also if you come up this way instead, then there is a ender chest over here as well. So because this is the spawn point, another command we're going to type is /set_spawn. This will set the default location for the default rank, which is what we're in, obviously. But we also want to do a /set_spawn for newbies as well. Newbies is assigned to anybody who joins the server for the first time. So what you can do is you can have a newbie spawn point in a specific part of the world, and that's typically used for like tutorial rooms or guide rooms or something like that. and then you have the general spawn world for this area here. So basically a new player joins in the spawn room, they do everything yada yada yada, read, understand exactly how the server works, and then when they type /spawn, it brings them back to this point. So this is the spawn point, spawn island, spawn region. That is all done. Now the next thing we need to create is the PvP region. And in order for that, we're just going to need to kind of fly off in the distance and pick out a nice area of land that we think is an appropriate size. So the island is right over there, it's just out of sight, but we need to fly all the way up to the Y top level zone. So I'm just going to type /up 100. Type it again. And that brings me to Y level 320, which is the new build height. So let's capture that point, break it, and then go back down. If you type /speed, then that will make you fly faster. So we're going to go over here and come right up to here. And then we're going to build all the way down to bedrock. All right, so we're at bedrock now. Again, let's select that region, that point. And I'm just going to slowly fill this in as well, just so that players don't accidentally fall down. So now that we have those 2 points selected, let's go ahead and create another region. This one we're going to call PvP. And now the PvP region has been created. So again, if we type /rginfo, you can see that we are in the PvP region. But for example, if we fly, over here, type the same command, then we are back in the global region. So we want to set a priority again on the global region, but we want it to be lower than the spawn region, so it doesn't outweigh any of those flags. So if we type /rg priority PvP and set it to say 5, then that will sit in between the 0 and the 10. Again, we want to set some custom flags in here, and that one is going to be the PvP flag. So if we type /rg flag PvP, PvP allow, then now if we type /rginfo, you can see that PvP is now allowed within this region. The other thing is we still want to turn off the build flag. So if we type /rg flag PvP build deny, then it means that players still can't build within this area. So the next thing we're going to set is a custom message to let players know once they leave the spawn that they are in the wild and that they are potentially in danger as well. So for that, we're going to do rg flag spawn farewell. I'm going to say something like entering the wild, good luck. So now you can see that if we leave this little area, entering the wild, good luck. So those are our regions. They are now set up. So there's just some little tinkering stuff that we need to do next. So what I want to do is set a world border, and I want this area here to be the center point. So what I can type is /world border center, and then select the points that I'm at. And then, for example, if we type /world border set 10, then you can see that this is basically the center point. But we're obviously going to make it a little bit bigger than that. Let's do it to, say, 10,000 blocks wide. So it's basically 5k in either direction. So 10,000 blocks wide, which I think is all right for the start. As more players join the server, as the community gets bigger, then we can make it bigger as well. But yeah, that is the world border. I also need to set up some other flags as well that I forgot. So the first one we're going to do is rg flag PvP mob spawning deny. Obviously, we don't want any animals or hostile mobs to spawn within the region. The second one is called fall damage. And obviously, that means when we jump from here all the way down to here, we don't take any fall damage. It would be a little bit silly if players were to jump down and then immediately just die from fall damage every single time they wanted to leave spawn. I don't think that would work very well. Another thing we can set up is a default kit for new players. If we take a look at kit tools, this is usually the default kit that players receive. So we receive a stone sword, shovel, pickaxe, and a regular axe, which I think is fine. I think we also want to put in some, cooked steak as well, which would be nice, and maybe a bed and a shield as well. So in order to set up that kit, we're actually going to go into our essentials folder and then open up the kits file. So you can see here there is kit tools with a delay of 10 seconds, and you can see we receive a stone sword, shovel, pickaxe, and axe. And in there, we want to put a shield as well. And we also want to put some cooked beef in there as well. We'll put 16 of that. I also want to put a bed in there as well. I think a bed is quite essential for new players. So if we type /s reload, kit tools, we now receive a white bed as well. So this is the default kit. We've not actually set up permissions for /kit yet, which means you're only going to get this kit the first time you join the server. Once you've joined the server, you will not be able to type /kits, and you'll not be able to spawn in this kit again. So this video has been going on for a little while now. Hopefully you guys haven't clicked away. If you're still watching up till here, I do salute you. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you haven't subscribed yet, you totally should. This isn't the end of this series. I'm going to be making some follow-up videos on this server, but I also want to see what you guys come up with as well. So if you guys have been following along and are making your own servers as well, leave the IPs to your server in the comments below. I totally want to check them out and see what you guys have come up with. But I think our lifesteal is in a good place at the moment. I could comfortably release this and let players join for the first time and start playing from here. However, there is a little bit more stuff that we want to do. In the next episode, we're going to look at kind of adding the final touches to our server and also look at ways that we can monetize and mass promote it as well to as many players as possible. So if you guys do want to see that, again, make sure you are subscribed, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.